And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are happy to be in your living rooms. This is Talk with Dougie. As usual, Thursday evening, we are back. Last week, we had a conversation and we made some friends. Our conversation was about alcohol and mental health. We got to meet new visitors who became our friends. And just in case some of you did not get to meet them or you've forgotten who they are, I will ask them to introduce themselves. Harun.
Yes.
Tell us your name is Harun.
Yes, I want to confirm that my name is Steve Harun, and I'm grateful to be here. Last week we were talking about my journey in alcoholism, and I'm grateful to God that I'm still sober, as we spoke last time, by the grace of God, one day at a time. And I'm really happy to be here and to have this conversation with you.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell us, you now.
Okay, I'm Chris Limo and glad to be here. Still standing, still a free man.
Yes.
And really enjoying it. I'm glad to be here.
Great.
Yes.
Most welcome. I know we started talking about football and talked about Messi moving to, where was that?
Inter Miami in the US.
Inter Miami in the US.
Yes.
And Aaron, we were saying that China had been scooping footballers, and now it is it's Saudi Arabia that's now taking people in there. But we are not too...
I'm not particularly very happy about football because we just lost... I'm a Man U fan.
Yes.
And just lost the last final we were engaged. We didn't win the cup. And I'm being trolled a lot on Facebook, because apparently when Man U does not win,
yes,
then everyone is on our case. Because apparently when we win, they say Man U fans are very proud. So when we win, we lord it over everyone.
Yes.
So when we lose, people are happy to put us down and remind us. You also enjoyed us when you're up. But it's football, so some we lose, some we win. We'll be back stronger next season, hopefully.
We hope so.
Yes.
Who's your biggest rival?
Obviously the name, the town, the city itself, Man City has been our rival.
Yes.
And every time people talk about Manchester City, they forget that the city has two big teams.
Yes.
I stick with that.
Not Arsenal?
No, those ones. Oh, they have been, actually there's even a song that goes Kati Manu na Arsenal gani kali. But I think that was then. Though Arsenal is also coming up nowadays.
Who do you support?
Well, I'm in the group of long suffering, so I'm Arsenal. I'm an Arsenal fan.
You're the guys who call Manu.
No, I hear it's good for marriage to be an Arsenal fan.
Okay.
Yeah, because we learn patience, we learn long suffering, and this year, almost.
We
were runners up.
We will.
By the way, the league is over, so just FYI. So,
I don't want to speak about football and I. So let's speak to this conversation.
Okay.
Alcoholism and mental health. So really, is alcohol a mental health issue?
Yes and no, but more than, I'd say, alcoholism, not alcohol, because alcohol is a neutral.
Yes, it's a drink.
It's a drink. But alcoholism could be, like it can cause, it can trigger mental health issues, but also mental health issues could lead to alcoholism.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends on who you ask. If you ask a mental health professional like myself, I can say it's
very interlinked.
Yeah, they're very interlinked, because alcoholism is, in a sense, okay, I can give a layman's definition. I like one definition that I really like using when I have a chance.
Yes.
It's the use, and any addiction generally, but let's stick to the use of alcohol, despite negative consequences, to meet a legitimate need.
So that again.
So you're there, so the use of alcohol, despite negative consequences,
yes,
because you're using and you're having negative consequences,
yes,
like you're not going to work, your relationships, you're overspending, and you have health problems, and you're still drinking.
But to meet some
legitimate need.
Yes.
Now, that alcoholism, that lack, especially when when you're aware about that negative consequence and you still continue, there we can actually say there's a mental health issue.
Yes.
Because there's evidence that this thing is not working. So what's the reason why you're continuing?
And it's not doing anything
And it's not
positive
doing anything
for you.
So that's why we say really you're addicted. You're dependent.
You've got a mental issue.
It could be, yes, it could be. Because alcohol is also classified as a depressant. So that despite when people think it's a sherehe,
Yes.
That it stimulates. Maybe the first couple of beers, you may feel stimulated, to go out, for instance, you're a shy guy, an introvert, and you're going out on your first date with this particular girl, and you wonder, what am I supposed to do? So to calm your nerves.
To drop the inhibitions.
Yes, exactly. To reduce the inhibitions. So it does feel, but the problem, now this is where another dependence it can create a craving. So that you, instead of drinking the two that you were hoping to drink for your confidence, you ask for a third and a fourth and a fifth.
Because you want to be more confident.
But then you forget to go for the date.
Then again.
Which was a legitimate need, because the socialization, going out on a date socialization is a legitimate societal need.
So we are saying that alcohol actually does affect your health. It does affect your well-being.
Absolutely.
I think I would say, when I look at alcohol in itself, there is no aspect of life that it doesn't touch. Because if I look at myself as a human being, even the way we define him as having a physical side, a mental side, a spiritual side, it will touch each of these aspects.
Yes.
Even now, going outside, touch the social aspects of it all. So it's very all-inclusive. And when it does that, we normally used to define it as cunning, baffling, and powerful. Cunning in the sense that it will use, the moment you get to that point of addiction, it will use almost all routes, all resources, everyone and every way to get to you. Baffling, because when you look at, if you're looking at an alcoholic from outside, you will be baffled at, this man, what is he doing, or this woman, what is he doing? Is he not seeing the negative effects that the continuous use of alcohol is causing to him and everyone around him? So it's actually baffling even to the alcoholic himself when he stops to just think about it. Then the powerful aspect of it, because that grip is not easy to let go of. It's not easy to disengage. So the powerful aspect comes in because then it has a grip on you that really ties you to it. There's a saying in my mother tongue that it's called johi, because johi, there is joha, like ties.
Yes.
I don't know whether it means the same, but there is that aspect of you become a slave, basically.
Yes, because getting out is
shackled and bondage, bound. Yeah.
I would want to just ask. We've said that it kills inhibitions. It brings in some bravado, which is very temporary. People get to say, I drink for fun. I drink, for kicks, just to socialize, that kind of thing. And many times we've forgotten that even those who drink, it should be an accompaniment. As in the way, let's go meet together and what do we do? Let's have a drink as an accompaniment. Let's meet over lunch. Let's meet over coffee. Let's meet over a drink. It's the accompaniment, not the important thing. But most people then get to think of, I want to have a drink. Who do I look for? It takes the lead. At what point does how can one get to tell if they're overdoing it, they're getting out of board? How can one tell that? How can I tell if I'm over drinking?
For me, I would say the first thing that happens is when alcohol starts to take a central position, a central role in everything that I do. Because like you mentioned, ideally, it's something that is happening and then alcohol on the side. But slowly by slowly, what happens is that alcohol is happening and then something on the side. So it becomes a central theme, so that everything else will take a second position, and alcohol starts slowly to take the first position. So anything, I would recall, for instance, even something like going to church, I would feel very restless. What am I doing in church and the bars are open? Because I'm getting that craving, that urge to...
I'm wasting time.
Yeah, or even when you're organizing events with children, because weekends children are free from school, so you want to take the children out and have fun. I would actually look for a place where there's alcohol. So even if it's swimming, is that swimming pool? Is there a restaurant next to the swimming pool? You find that if they're going for any activity, then there has to be, even shopping. There's some supermarkets that don't sell alcohol. So I would choose the ones with alcohol, so that then it becomes a part of it. So that every event that I am undertaking, there has to be alcohol.
And that's what has made this merry-go-round thing become very popular.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you mean?
There's this fanfare with the merry-go-round where children are taken.
Oh, the children parks.
Yes, the kids parks. But it is really not for the Luna parks.
Yes.
Apart from the merry-go-round, even the food is nyama choma, which is not for children.
Yeah.
So it's an open bar.
There's that. So those would be the events.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing you look at is the impact that drinking has on those, all those aspects that Aaron mentioned. Your relationships, your in terms of spirituality.
Yes.
What's the central place for you? In terms of your beliefs and your values.
Yes.
The impact it has on your finances. The impact, because at times people say, "But I only drink on Fridays and Saturdays." Yeah, but what if you're spending 50,000 shillings on that Friday and Saturday, and you earn 45,000, for instance, because there's also other secondary behaviors that support this habit. Like now there's a lot of gambling and betting and that kind of thing, where people you earn and it looks like free money, and in fact it looks like so you say, since I didn't earn this money, I'm entitled to spend it on whatever I want.
Come easy, go easy.
Yeah. So we look at the impact, because at times people say it's not the frequency, it's not even the type of alcohol. Because there are people who believe that you cannot become an alcoholic if you are a wine drinker. And that you cannot be a social drinker if you're if you drink changa or the illicit cruise.
Yes.
And yet you'll find both. You'll find addicts who are exclusively wine drinkers, and you'll find social drinkers
who gang together to go
with the illicit brew. Yeah, because illicit brew is only illicit because the state has
the legal aspect.
It is illegal.
There's a legal aspect to it, but as a substance, it has no difference in terms of the alcohol content. There's no difference to that, and the upscale top level wine. So we look at the human being.
Yes.
To know that, where we're talking about legitimate need. You see, like now when you're saying about socializing, where there's, maybe a traditional, so that's the legitimate need.
Yes.
But when there's a negative consequence where you either don't even make it to that social, which was a story,
yes,
or you get there and you don't leave even after the event.
Yes.
So it's, when we look at another importance of of the story of where this person is coming from, it's really important, rather than putting in a band in one group that alcohol is bad, or even the other group on the other end of scale that alcohol is a good social lubricant. So those are very general. So I think it's important for that one-on-one, and I guess that's why the last time when we're sharing our stories, it's really just to show that everybody has a story.
Everyone has their story.
Yeah, and not necessarily with alcohol, but just because they are alive.
However dull it could be, there is a story
Yes.
that's affected. Now, come 2019, 2020, thereabout, COVID checks in.
Yes.
And discourse died, bars closed, people stopped going to work, people stopped going to church, religious institutions, and wines and spirits picked up. And so people would buy drinks and take them home. Was there an increase in alcohol consumption individuals taking more than they used to drink before them? Was there an increase in addiction? Did COVID?
I think so, yeah, because COVID, the beauty about COVID, it was a global disruption.
Yes.
And it disrupted all our lives.
Yes.
So even that, in that aspect, it did disrupt. Where and how we noticed that there was a disruption in that sense is where there was an increase in domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where, and yes, it's because people are at home and they are not used to spending so much time at home. And that's the thing. So now
They don't know each other well.
Yes. So they're drinking. So yes, there was an upsurge of home drinking. I don't know about dependence or alcoholism per se, but I would imagine that would be the next thing, that it went up. I know there's a survey done by the National Authority of that control, NACADA, that was done. I've not read it completely, but I'd look at it and see, because there's one they did in 2022.
Yes.
So I'm sure they included, perhaps there's something there around the pandemic. But yes, there was the increase in domestic violence, teenage pregnancies.
Yes.
And, and of course these pregnancies were not immaculate conceptions.
No, they were not. I mean, there was time.
It was by people known to these people, to these girls, And I think that's one of, we were just addressing the girls and the teenage pregnancy, but we're not addressing who caused it. And so alcohol does spawn a lot of the social issues.
Many times when there are family gatherings, dowry, birthdays, funerals, all of those wedding plannings, there's a lot of alcohol in some homesteads. And sometimes, and we saw the other day on social media, some little child being given alcohol, to a point where she started crying when it's not given to her. And I hope she's caught. I hope they get to catch the parents. But we have seen times where children are fed alcohol and told, atawe onja ni ya mtoto ni ya kucelebrate. Can that get to make a child start that encounter with alcohol at an early age? Yes. Can it drive that thirst and will into being an alcohol consumer, then into an alcoholic?
From what I know, and actually listening to a lot of alcoholics, people who have this alcoholic problem, their first encounter with alcohol was way before they were 21 years. The first encounter. I'm not saying people who start later after that don't, progress to become alcoholics, but the vast majority. I don't know how it happens brain-wise or physiologically, because like I shared last time, my first encounter I was 9 years.
Yes.
9 years, and it doesn't really matter then what happens between 9 years and the next time you come across alcohol, because I stayed quite a bit, almost 10, 15, 20 years. But the moment, a lot of the stories I hear, I think there's something that happens physiologically in the brain when it encounters these substances at a very early age. So that later, when the same thing happens, the brain somehow just adopts this thing as
recalls and yes.
And so one of the interventions I would personally say is, if it's possible for caregivers, parents, and people around children to keep them from these substances, alcohol, drugs, before that age of 21 years.
Yes.
That sort of protects them physically, because by the point they're that very young, of course, they're still developing. So I guess when the substances get mixed up with the brain and the cells and the physiological aspects of it, it becomes quite easy to assimilate them in life much later when they're grown.
Yeah, because I stopped drinking when I was 27.
Yes.
But honestly, I feel I had the mindset of a teenager when I stopped drinking, because it does affect human development, as you say. Yeah. And I don't know whether you can play catch up on that. And that's where now the thing about just accepting, once you've accepted that this thing is a mess, it's messing your life, you accept even the lost opportunities.
Yes.
That acceptance is a journey in itself.
Yes.
Yeah. But yes, so giving a child, because of that developmental, it's not just abuse. You're destroying that
Yes.
child. You're destroying on a physical level, not even
This
mental.
you're stunting
You're destroying.
something.
Yeah, there's something that could stick there. It's I don't honestly calculate even if it's a drop or a sip.
It should
It
be.
should be zero. Especially when it comes to children, it should be zero.
And then when people then, that guy who comes from a home and is an alky, he has alcohol kit, and people start saying, apana, chukweni ye pelekeni rehab, tupeni ye rehab. How does rehab work for the alcoholic? Is it right to just pick somebody and take them? Because sometimes we say, let someone be willing themselves to go. But then, if you take this person to a psychologist, in that state, does it help?
Let me give you an analogy.
Yes.
Go outside.
And let's share examples.
Yes, an example. So a guy is hit by a mat outside here in the studio, and you can actually see he's got a broken leg. And then we ask, can you give us permission to take you to hospital? Normally, what happens? People just come and you go maybe to the nearest where we are. Perhaps it's Mata or whatever. Yeah, they take them. So similarly, consider alcoholism as a broken soul. Yeah. So their permission. He gave us his story.
Yes, he did.
And 5 years on, he's here.
Yes.
If that, so maybe I don't know about how he thinks about how it was done, but I don't know whether it matters. Even
whether I am willing to go or whether I just
depends on now. But you also asked a question about rehab. What really is what is a rehab? What is it supposed to do? Again, it depends on who you ask. If you ask the addict, they think it's supposed to lock him up.
It's a jail,
it's
a
a
bad
jail,
place, it's punishment.
He's a bad person,
Yes.
it's now to pay for his sins. If you ask family, it's just, look, for now, especially around, Christmas, around December, usually the inquiries by family are at an all-time high.
Because they
They said, this guy will mess our holiday plans. Can he just go in?
Can we just take him into body?
Yes. And then again, now the people who run again, even that the jury is out about. But a good rehab, what it does, it doesn't get an addict to stop drinking or an alcoholic to stop drinking. It breaks their denial. Their role is just to, by presenting evidence of how your life is when you're drinking, that this is what your family is saying, this is what your boss is saying, this is what the society is saying about you, this is what the OCS is saying. He's tired of taking you to court for drunken disorder.
He's locking you in.
Yeah, locking you, because it's not a crime to be drunk. Okay, well, maybe the statutes say that.
Yes, but
really, it's the same as a guy being knocked by a matatu out there. Is it a crime to have a broken leg? No. So similarly,
it's just not right.
It's so it's about breaking denial. And denial, again, is not, how we think denial is refusing to deal with reality. Honestly, for alcoholics, it's an inability. They just can't see.
They can't fathom that I can't stay without it.
They can't see they can't see the impact their drinking is having on those aspects that Harold mentioned. So what rehab does is to present to you that reality through professional counseling, through getting collateral information from family members, through you remembering, because now you're not drinking, now understanding, because there's some things that also, just by being there, knowing, there's some things we feel, like when Manu wins, and you go and have a drink, you think that they'll be champions for the next 10 years.
We are the champions.
No, it's only until the next season.
Yes.
And then even if you retain the cup, it's a new season.
Yes.
So alcoholics also need to understand about how to deal with their emotions. That nothing is permanent. Because when we could drink over anything, wacha nitakushow. Nitakushow wewe. So I go drink so that I come and show you.
And express yourself.
Yes. You know, thank God some of us we didn't have access to guns.
I agree with Chris on that aspect. That okay, there are different stages. There are some people who, just before alcoholism progresses too much, they're able to see this is not taking me well, so that they're even amenable to a solution themselves.
Yes.
But it gets to a point where the reality departs them completely. That's what I shared last time about tough love.
Yes.
And that's a question you're asking about people being forced to go to rehab.
Yes.
And that intervention, like I said, for me, it did three things. Because in the first instance, it separated me from alcohol physically. There's no way I was going to do it on my own. I couldn't. I was unable. Like he said, it's not enough. It's not anything. I'm just not able. If I try to do anything, I'm shaking. There's a day I walked into a bank. I needed to sign. You know that you withdraw money and you need to sign. I couldn't. You know, I was like, until
you told the teller, wait.
I had to go to the car, take a drink, completely, and drink. Now I'm back, and this guy is like, hey, what happened? You know, you can tell that the demeanor has changed. But I'm able to.
You got this smile.
Yeah, it gets to a point. Now got to a point where I was dependent completely. It had to help me that way. Then the other aspect is the aspect of now letting you know, presenting the reality to you that you are drinking this way because of you're an alcoholic. You're probably an alcoholic. It has got to a point where you are dependent on it. It presents to you the truth.
Yes.
And then now they tell you there's a solution. So now you cannot claim ignorance anymore because I was very ignorant, or at least I thought I was. I did not know what was happening. So then when you know the truth, you know they say the truth will set you free, but it will piss you off first. So between that, knowing the truth and getting pissed off, you know, then you know you can get to a point where you decide, yes, this is not the life I had. Because like you said, it brings now memory. My life was this way, I was destined for better things, but now this is where I am. Is this really the path that I want to continue on?
They say that drinkers, that there are three kinds of drinkers. There's the guy, you know, easy guys who go to the club, both male, female. So there are three kinds of drinkers. Those ones who get high, and as they get high, they are happier and laughing and excited and that kind of, you know, they are very happy people. There's the second, who is the person who gets the higher they're getting more depressed and end up crying, and you know, they get suicidal. And there's the other third one who goes and just gets annoyed and gets violent. Are those triggers of what's inside them? Something that's eating them? You know, the way they say that how your day has been is likely to be how your dreams will be. Is there something to do with someone's persona or what's in their subconscious while they get into that state?
Yes, but it could also be on that day. Those drinkers who are drinking and are happy, maybe it's end month.
Or someone the palo has got for them.
But he drinks his salary today. On Tuesday, he's there taking maybe a cheap liquor, and he'll be their second lot.
Yes.
You know, because it's really momentary. And yeah, because I know there was a time I was a comic. You know, but then there were days when I don't want to be involved with anybody. You know, and but all three, if they're drinking to achieve those results,
yes,
that's dependence. That's alcoholism. All three. Yeah, the one that I still am baffled by, and I guess is not the subject of our conversation, is the one who can say he's going to have 2 beers. He goes and has 2 beers and leaves.
Yes,
goes home.
Yes, has got that discipline.
Yes, so and then maybe he'll come back again to the pub maybe 3.5 months later and say, oh yeah, because I happen to the social drinker. But again, even, you know, so I mean, because I think we are anyway, but that's at some level we're all addicts. But today we're talking about alcoholism.
So there's this whole facade that's called kutoa lock. In the morning, it's not a facade. It's there. Kutoa lock.
Yes.
You know, kutoa lock actually has an English word. There's a phrase to it. Yes. That kutoa lock is our Swahili or sheng.
Well, lock is
lock, yes. But there's actually it's called hair of a dog.
Oh yeah.
Hair of a dog.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, the joke was we started by kutoa lock. Eventually, unatoa mlango. Because the whole thing just gets up because there's really nothing left of it. But that's what I was saying.
Yes.
Because the kutoa lock aspect is you wake up with a hangover, or wake up very depressed, or actually, like I was sharing, very shaky. You cannot even hold a cup of tea or a
Yes.
cup of water. So that sort of helps stabilize you. It's actually the point where I was mentioning. Now you are dependent on it. For you to function even physically, you need a bit of alcohol in your system to stabilize it. So it's there. And it started very slowly. So we'd wake up and think, I have a headache. So I'll take Panadols and a bottle of alcohol, because this headache, I cannot start the morning with a headache. So instead of taking a glass of water with a tablet of Panadol, so I'll take the alcohol. Yeah, so it's there, that aspect of trying to remove those shaky delirium tremens.
And the who?
DTs, the shakes.
The shakes. And the reason why I'm bringing about the hair of a dog, the kutoa lock, is because those ones who drink and say, I only drink twice a week, only drink Wednesday, Friday, Sato. But then they'll wake up and say, oh, my head. And the joke is, you are feeling, the worse you feel is the more fun you had last. Means that you had a lot of fun. And so it becomes a big joke. I've got a hengy. Some wake up and saying, hey, I'm shaking, I must have drank a bit yesterday. Or feeling that I can't remember what was happening yesterday. Some get to do that Friday, Saturday, then Sunday they have trouble sleeping. Is that a trigger for excessiveness? Or is it just a norm that the body is not taking? Is that a trigger that says there is an excess that's going on?
The body is naturally wired to take care of itself. So when you introduce a chemical, an external thing, so that it's wired to sleep, at a certain time. Even the alarm clock is because of just our culture.
Yes.
So when he's not able to sleep because on that time, it's because the chemical has messed up with that wiring. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So the chemical has messed up with that wiring. So and then again, it's individual to individual. How, how much, there's some people who will take, say, a crate of beer and nothing happens. Then there's another one who take 2 glasses of wine.
I know 2 guys who are both.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but the body is a marvelous thing, very complex, but it's wired to take care of itself. So when we mess with that wiring, you will get all sorts of repercussions. People who believe they can drive better when they're, like now sign checks. They drive better, and for some reason, and they actually
somehow they're more composed.
Yes,
yes,
and more confident and what have you. The problem is you used an external thing. An external, chemical. You introduced it into something natural. Yeah.
How? So there could be somebody who's watching, and we first want to dwell on the person who may be watching, probably in a club, probably having a drink, probably just watching and saying, I wish I could get some help.
But let's go.
And so and they say, I am not able to. So how can one start reducing on drinking? How can one start stopping that habit?
Wow. Well, for us, at least for me, moderation was not a thing. It was the first one.
Yes.
Say 1,000. 1 is not enough. No, 1 is too much, and 1,000 are not enough.
Yes.
So I'd stop at I'm not able. That's a good start. That's a good admission. Get even on our beloved internet.
Yes.
You can do what we call a screening. You can screen. There are screening tools. One is called CAGE. The acronym is CAGE. Another one is audit. You can do a self-test, online and look. Do you ever drink in the morning? Has anybody been concerned about your drinking in the last 1 year?
Yes.
So that's a start. When he or she says they are not able.
A self-assessment.
Yes. That's in and of itself is a start, because with us, or with myself, let me say with myself, it was anything but the alcohol. So it was never, it was these people
have issues.
Yeah, they have issues, and they're making me drink. You know, but so when somebody starts saying, let them make a call, you know, call us or call, you know, again, Nakada, you know, because it's an umbrella body, they have a helpline, a free helpline.
Yes.
And you can call and they'll refer to
Yes.
different, you know, to different support system, group support professionals. I think it's 119, either 94 or 92.
Yes.
I can't remember. And it's okay to start looking for help at that point. And nobody will tell you to stop.
Yes.
That you need to stop. Nobody will tell you, now that you've asked and whether you're able, now stop. No. But it's a good start. And then family members, you know, because family members, for me, I have a passion for family members.
Yes.
Because they're usually very stamped about what to do. You know, they're the ones who pick up the bills. They're the ones who get the
Clear
end
up
of the
mess.
feast,
Yes.
clean up the mess. You know, and then them and they're the ones who, at times they are called. They start being labeled as something called enablers. You are the one who's enabling. You are the one.
You
who's
open
enabling.
the door for them when they come in
Yes.
late. You're the one who gives them pocket money.
Yes.
Clean up after them.
You clean up after them. You go bail them out. You know, from the, you know, the OCS is saying, we will watch tumpeleke Kibera.
Watch.
Then they say, no, how much will it cost? But I think we need to understand where they're coming from. Yeah? That it's not enabling, because nobody wants that for anybody. Even, okay, I don't know about your worst enemy, but nobody wants that for your loved one.
True.
Yeah. So let's not, that word is, in fact now it's not, in the industry it's not a word anymore. You know, it's not used because it's very it's negative.
It's a sympathizer, not an enabler.
So they are coming with their best intention. So with family, what we do, or what I do in terms of now my work, is that I help them do what we call, you know, now that intervention, because the intervention is a process. So I even give them a script of how to do the intervention.
So hold on.
Yes.
Because we've got into the next one.
Sorry.
And I want us to phrase it in a way that will come through.
Okay.
So we are now addressing the person who's affected.
Yes.
Who's got a husband.
Yes.
Or a wife. Or a son or daughter.
Or an employee.
Yes. Who is a patient. First of all, to first say that alcoholism is an illness.
Yes.
It goes into mental illness. Is a disease and not
bad manners.
Not bad manners.
It's not a moral issue. The things they would do could have a moral angle to it, but it's not a moral issue.
So somebody has got a family member who is an alcoholic.
Yes.
Many times we say ata Mungu atamjalia tu, tunaomba, we are praying God will hear. So is that enough? What is it that, how do we treat them? That's number one. How do we treat them? What do we do to help them? Because they come home and start insulting us. You don't love me, or you wish I die. All of those things. The next morning they can't remember, and do you remember what you said? No. What do we do? But both of you, I don't know what to start with.
Okay, I can start maybe from my own experience. I think that there's something I mentioned last week about tough love. But even before we go to the tough love to the affected, that is the alcoholic, they have to start loving themselves first. And the aspect of enabling, like you mentioned, it can be very tricky because you are in the same house with this person. And one of the things that really used to humble me, or used to make me feel a bit ashamed, is if I came into the house and I puked, they would let me sleep on my puke. Just sleep there. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, wait a minute, where am I? Because the alcohol will have gone
been
down.
marinating in.
Yes. So I started questioning myself, what am I doing and what am I showing people? So there's that aspect of letting me as an alcoholic deal with my own stuff. So that even when I'm going to drink today, I remember, yesterday I slept in puke and I cleaned it myself. But if I woke up and I'm clean, I've been washed, I know this is something that
I not even
happen.
remember.
Yeah, but there's also a program for for people living with alcoholics that helps them to, to self-care, to self-love, to also know how to deal with them. Al-Anon, it's called Al-Anon. It's also available on some of these websites, because then it also teaches people living with alcoholics to helps them to understand them better, and also to know that these people, they're not doing this deliberately per se, but just because they're not doing it deliberately does not mean that you enable them and help them to cope with it. But there's an issue you addressed earlier that also helps someone as an alcoholic to sort of get out of this, because there's an aspect of shame that comes in being labeled alcoholic. And one of the things that helped me eventually was this aspect of allergy, because the whole point of when I keep drinking, even when it's affecting me, has an element of, I don't know whether it's a reverse allergy. When I was growing up, I was allergic to peanuts. I couldn't eat them. I would take them and I would scratch my mouth very much. So that tells me that this thing is not good for me.
Yes.
So because that is a negative effect, you see, now I could stop without being forced to.
Yes.
But alcohol is doing the opposite, because I'm chasing this high, but it's also an allergic form. It's only that it's reversed, that instead of pushing me, it's drawing me to itself. So looking at it as a form of allergic reaction to alcohol, helps someone know that this is not bad manners, it's not deliberate sabotage, it's just an illness that reacts this way when I interact with alcohol.
Yes.
Yeah.
A friend of mine says to that question about what should family do, he says, love them to death. Love them to death. Now whose death? Is it whether it's a family member
or is it, yes, or is
but,
it till they kill you?
Now, like he said, okay, about empowering, getting yourself empowered on how to deal with the issue is now available. More available than say when I was stopping, which was there was no internet,
yes.
There was no. But now there's more information. You can easily get what script do I use. So let me just give you a practical example of what I do, or what is that I first of all, when a family member calls me, I say, so what's your concern about this person's drinking? And it's a very important question, because you will think it's just about the drinking. There are some people who have said, no, you see, ananiharibia jina kanisani. So I say, oh, so it's about your reputation.
Because I'm saved.
Yes,
I'm
in
I
the deaconess,
walk in the light, and
yes,
I'm an elder. But he's drinking some. Yeah.
So then I know that concern, to deal with that concern, I will not even need to talk to the person who has it.
It's a selfish item.
I'll deal with that concern. But the other concern is, there are people who come and say, he could die.
Yes.
He could die. Or, that thing of, we don't know what to do. We don't know what else to
feed
do.
His family.
We don't know whether to kick him out, but when we kick him out, he comes with injuries, and or he brings, like during COVID, when we didn't understand that the disease. So we don't know where the person has come. We think that you must, obviously, Mlevi is not, still distancing, social distancing.
Don't leave the mask on. Yes.
Yeah. So there are those. So I listen to the concerns, and then I get more background history, and it's important to get that history, because we will use it at the actual intervention. So when the family members, and I ask that you be more than one family member, because one can be overpowered, especially parents, the same way my mom, I say it's you.
Yes.
But unless there's somebody else who's saying, yeah, but she's also this, she also did this,
yes.
So surely those count for something. So when you're more, then I say share your concern, because your concern is valid, however crazy it is.
Yes.
So when you share your concern, now the addict is that, what do you have to say about their concerns? All of a sudden, they're able to get out of themselves, or not. But the hope is that they'll get up out of themselves and think about what has been said by these people about their concerns. But when you come in and say, stop drinking, it's alcoholism.
come back
They can't.
here.
I mean, they would have a long time
They're
ago.
sick.
They're sick. Remember the negative consequences despite negative. So they already know. That's not breaking news. So they already know and they can't stop. Then you tell them, I don't like that you know, ukitoa lock unatoa mlango, because literally sometimes people do that.
Yes.
Or the violence or the illnesses or the bills that we are paying for, then the person will just say, then stop paying.
What
Yeah.
is?
So now for the tough love, because tough love is tough on both the giver and the recipient.
Yes.
So we call their bluff at times. You say, okay, fine, you stop paying and see what happens. But also I tell them, be ready to buy a coffin.
Yes.
Because this person could die. Like literally, they could be hit by a car. They're crossing a highway in a blackout.
Yes.
They could die by alcohol poisoning. Anything is possible in an alcoholic's world. So, for family, what do they do? But the information is there, and then there is the support system. So like detox, because at times, like when you hear, especially the people drinking the illicit brew and then they go blind and what have you, people say they deserved it. But what was making them drink in the first place?
Something the
That
root.
legitimate need. Times are hard. Times are hard, for instance. So, and you're not sorting these times, because you
Yes.
can't. Yeah, so what do you do? So,
So we
what do you
need.
do? So for detox, take them to the nearest hospital, because detoxification is a medical procedure needing to be done by a qualified medical personnel. Then think rehab. At times, we can come in even at that time of the detox, even as friends, as people with a lived experience, and we say, this is what we did. And what did we do? We looked at our record. We saw we were a mess. We saw the bondage we were in. This is what we did. This is what we did. I paid my first pool game was a beer game. I mean, and I thought I'd win. I mean, that's it. In another world, it's stupid.
Yes.
But I really believed it. But it was,
yes.
and it was really an excuse to have a drink. And so we see the record that we were a mess. Then you come and once, and it's a process. Obviously, this is not a one-day thing. But just sitting and accepting that I'm a mess, and you hear from people who've been there, done that, is very affirming.
So
it's very consoling.
So one, love them
to death.
to death. Talk to them with love, which is
Yes.
part of it all. Take them to see a counselor. Or
people
seek
who've
help,
been there.
somebody who's been there,
Yeah.
and pray for them. Because
Yeah,
again,
don't
we are
stop
Christians,
being- yeah.
don't stop praying for them. I want to ask this. The government,
Yes.
beloved, talks about alcoholism, and you know what, guys? The chief knows where alcohol is sold because they work within the community. The MCAs know where this alcohol is sold. The community does know that. Is the government doing anything? Let's start with anything before we then go, is it enough? Is the government doing anything to try and curb this alcoholism menace?
Yes and no. Yes, because they have the structures, like the Nakada. They have the chiefs who know where this thing is being brewed. They have the police stations.
So they'll put in place systems.
And they have the penal code.
The police know where these dens are.
Yes. Yeah. The no is that the government, where for me the no is that because there's also a political angle to this. Why are people drinking in the first place? To meet, with negative consequences, to meet a legitimate need. Perhaps there's just not enough to do.
Hold on.
Yes.
Hold on.
Okay.
It's where I'm going, Haran, is
Okay.
this way. And
Yeah, that's okay.
is this way. There's what we are calling illicit brew. There's alcohol that I'm told that a half of it cannot be sold to you as an individual because it is too little. So two of you must come with your pal so
There
that you
you
may
are.
both split that half,
Buy one,
because
get one.
because it is
Buy
too
one.
little. So it is being sold in the local dukas. There are these illicit brews, kinamorats and changan, these things which are out there. And because the government will not stop all alcohol being sold, there's the termed branded illicit. So what's happening? And that's why I'm saying, is it doing enough? What can be done?
Provide an alternative to that drinking. And that will involve thinking. But
Yes.
It will involve thinking. Let's think about what can you do, because there's no one part answer, really. But provide an alternative to meeting that legitimate need. And you see, like we're saying, it's for socializing. If you remove it from the center, put it on the side, and it's now public participation would be one of the ways. Say, what's missing in that hall?
Yes.
What's missing? So the people will tell you. They'll tell you, like if it's an area where they tell you we don't have enough social activities. I always fantasize about opening a pub with no alcohol allowed, or first of all, calling it a pub doesn't even make sense.
The milk bars.
To just
Milk bars.
it can happen
It
without
has every other thing, like the loud
the music, the
and the
disco
dance
lights,
floor, but no alcohol. If you come here, you're not allowed in. You're not. And I'm wondering whether would it take off. I don't know, but it has great food. Yeah.
I think there's also the aspect of information. For me, I would say, you see the way children are introduced to the sex education, health education when they're quite young. In schools, if there is even a topic about alcohol and alcoholism, let the information be out there so that even at that age, the children know there is this group of people who are allergic to alcohol. The moment they start drinking, they can't stop. But there is help A, B, C, D. So let them marinate that information when as they're growing up. Maybe later, there are people who used to say, I first heard of rehab when I was 10. When I drank at 40, I remembered, wait a minute, I heard of this thing when I was very young. Can I start researching about it?
There's a good man called Banamutudo,
Yes.
who I spoke to a while back, and is willing to come and sit with us. And I hope he can come and build on that one. But I'm told our time is up.
Oh,
I'm told our hour is up. Unfortunately, we have to go. Maybe we can pick this again in the coming week or something and just build on it. Look at what else we can get to build and support. We hope that it has been of benefit to you and that we are learning on how to get to pray and support and cope with alcoholism, as well as get to help each other become better, sober people to our society. Until Thursday, it's been Man Talk with Dougie. Good night and God bless you all.
Thank you.
And time has gone.